Well, yeah, because I've been working on all these lengthy projects like the book and like the Led Zeppelin re-releases with all this extra material that goes.
Rock and roll has always been associated with excess, rebellion, and a carefree attitude. However, behind the glamour and fame, many rock stars have struggled with dark secrets. From legendary musicians to iconic bands, the music industry has been plagued by stories of sexual obsession. Ozzy Osborne, rock legend Ozzy Osborne, known for his iconic voice and wild partying ways, revealed that he has been struggling with sex addiction for years. The singer has been undergoing therapy, which has taken a devastating toll on his personal life. The news broke after a hair colorist revealed she was one of Ozzy's mistresses for 6 years. This shocking revelation led to Ozzy's separation from his wife, Sharon Osbourne. Sharon has since spoken out about the pain and betrayal she feels, saying she's not sure if she can ever trust Ozzy again. But what's even more shocking is the extent of Ozzy's infidelity. According to reports, he cheated on Sharon with 5 different women in 5 different countries. This behavior is a clear indication of a deeper issue, and Ozzy has finally sought help for his sex addiction. Steven Tyler. Steven Tyler, the iconic lead singer of Aerosmith, has been a household name for decades. Known for his charismatic stage presence, powerful vocals, and outrageous antics, Tyler has built a reputation as one of rock's most enduring and beloved figures. However, behind the scenes, Tyler has been struggling with a secret addiction that has threatened to destroy his personal life and relationships. It has been revealed that Tyler checked into rehab for sex addiction back in 1991, years before he was hit with a bombshell lawsuit accusing him of sexually assaulting a 16-year-old. The 30-day program at Arizona's Sierra Tucson Clinic cost a staggering $116,000, and sources close to the singer have revealed the shocking extent of his addiction. According to insiders, Tyler admitted to having sex anywhere and everywhere, including airplanes, buses, dressing rooms, rooftops, and beaches. He reportedly confessed to being unable to say no to women and that his favorite pastime was sex with multiple partners. This behavior is a clear indication of a sex addiction, and it's clear that Tyler's addiction was out of control. But that's not all. During his rehab stint, Tyler also revealed that he had been obsessed with fantasizing about women he wanted to bed, and that he had been unfaithful to his wife 10 times in the past 12 months. This level of infidelity is staggering, and it's clear that Tyler's addiction was not only harming himself, but also those around him. Tyler's struggles with addiction are well documented. He has been open about his battles with drug and alcohol abuse and has been in and out of rehab multiple times. It's worth noting that Tyler's first sexual experience occurred when he was just 7 years old, with French twins he met in a church choir. This early exposure to sex may have contributed to his later addiction, and it's clear that Tyler has been struggling with his demons for most of his life. Despite his struggles, Tyler has made significant progress in recent years. He has been sober for over 9 years and has spoken publicly about the importance of seeking help for addiction. Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, captured the hearts of millions of fans around the world. However, he had a dark and controversial sex life that was marked by unusual fetishes and addictions. As Elvis rose to fame in the late 1950s, he became an instant sex symbol, with women all over the world obsessed with the rock star. But Elvis was particular about what he looked for in a woman, and it soon became apparent that he had developed some unusual fetishes over the years. One of his most disturbing fetishes was his obsession with virgins. Elvis would often seek out young, innocent women and keep the relationship going for as long as he could. But as soon as they lost their virginity, they also lost Elvis's interest. Another one of Elvis's weird sexual addictions was his fascination with watching other couples have sex. This fetish is known as voyeurism, and it's a clear indication of a deeper psychological issue. Elvis would often arrange for his aides to set up secret encounters with young women, and he would watch from a distance as they engaged in sexual activities. Elvis's sex life with his wife, Priscilla Presley, was also marked by controversy. After the birth of their daughter, Elvis refused to have sex with Priscilla, citing his distaste for women who had given birth. This bizarre fetish is known as parturiphobia, and it's a clear indication of Elvis's warped views on women and sexuality. Elvis's perverted sexual appetite led him to regularly meet young women, often with the help of his aides. He would allegedly demand a steady stream of girls, and his aides would oblige, setting up secret encounters with young women who were often barely out of their teens. One disturbing incident involved Elvis spending the night with 3 14-year-old girls when he was just 22 years old. Although sexual activity didn't occur, the encounter was still deeply disturbing, with Elvis engaging in pillow fights, tickling, kissing, wrestling, and cuddling with the young girls. David Bowie. Bowie was consumed by a sex addiction that drove him to engage in wild orgies, sleep with underage girls, and declare his bisexuality with a permanent erection. His reputation for rampant sexual activity inspired an offer of a warm dead body to sleep with when he was on tour in Philadelphia. Although he declined the offer, it's clear that Bowie was fixated on sex and was willing to push the boundaries of what was considered acceptable. Bowie's sex life was marked by a lack of boundaries and a disregard for the age of his partners. He had a relationship with British singer Dana Gillespie when she was just 13 or 14 years old, and he was known to sleep with multiple women at the same time. Mime artist Lindsay Kemp, who had an affair with Bowie, remembered waking up to find him in bed with her best friend, with the walls shaking. Bowie's fascination with sex was not limited to his personal relationships. He also had a fascination with Adolf Hitler, which was fueled by his drug taking. According to musician Glenn Hughes, Bowie would watch reels and reels of film about the Nazis while in a cocaine-induced trance. This fascination with Hitler is a disturbing aspect of Bowie's personality, and it's clear that his drug use had a significant impact on his mental state. Bowie's sex life was also marked by a sense of exhibitionism. He shared a fur-covered bed in the living room with his first wife, Angela Barnett, which was designed for group sex. This level of openness about his sexuality was unprecedented for the time, and it's clear that Bowie was determined to push the boundaries of what was considered acceptable. Despite his weird obsession with sex, Bowie was a complex and multifaceted person. He was a true original, and his music and fashion sense continue to inspire new generations of fans. Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page, the legendary guitarist of Led Zeppelin, was known for his iconic riffs and sold-out concerts. However, he was consumed by an obsession with sex that bordered on the extreme. His behavior was often described as rampant misogyny, and his treatment of women was nothing short of appalling. According to Page, the band's behavior was often unbearable, with drinking and drug-taking sessions that could go on for days, resulting in trashed hotel rooms. On one occasion, Page stripped naked, covered himself with whipped cream, and was wheeled into a room on a room service trolley to be served up to a bunch of teenage girls. Page's obsession with sex was not limited to his on-stage antics. He was known to travel with a collection of whips, which he would use on groupies who he found to be teasing and acting hot. He would often humiliate them and then expect them to come onto him afterwards. One of the most disturbing accounts of Page's behavior comes from a young female journalist from Life magazine, Ellen Sander, who joined their 1969 tour. She reported being attacked by 2 members of the group when she went into a dressing room to say goodbye. She fought them off, but their intent was clear, and it's a miracle she escaped unharmed. Page later described her account as not a false picture, but added that he always got very edgy before going on stage and that there were different ways of releasing that surplus adrenaline. Page's relationships with women were often marked by a power imbalance, with him holding all the cards. He would often pursue young, vulnerable women and then discard them when he was done with them. One of his most famous conquests was Pamela Miller, aka Miss Pamela, who was a groupie and a model. She described Page's sadistic tendencies as such a part of him that I doubt if he'll ever stop. His relationships with underage girls are also a cause for concern. He had a relationship with Sable Starr, who was just 15 years old at the time. Mick Jagger, the iconic lead singer of the Rolling Stones, has long been known for his charismatic stage presence and provocative lyrics. However, a book by biographer Christopher Anderson has shed light on a more personal and intimate aspect of Jagger's sex life. The revelations are both shocking and intriguing, offering a glimpse into the complex world of the rock legend. According to Anderson's book, the singer has slept with over 4,000 women during his career. This staggering number is a testament to Jagger's reputation as a rock and roll Lothario, but it also hints at a sex addiction. Anderson suggests that Jagger's compulsive behavior is linked to serious intimacy problems and self-esteem issues. One of the most surprising revelations in the book is Jagger's alleged sexual relationship with David Bowie. Anderson describes the pair as a sexual tag team, citing Jagger's own words. Everyone knows that everyone is basically bisexual. Jagger's sex life has been a subject of fascination for decades, with his numerous conquests and high-profile relationships making headlines around the world. However, behind the glamour and glitz, Anderson's book suggests that Jagger has struggled with emotional and personal demons. His wife, Jerry Hall, has spoken publicly about the rock star's infidelity and the toll it has taken on their marriage. In a bid to address his issues, Jagger reportedly sought the help of a sex therapist. However, in a shocking twist, Anderson alleges that Jagger pursued a sexual relationship with the therapist, highlighting the deep-seated nature of his problems. This behavior is characteristic of sex addiction, where individuals become trapped in a cycle of compulsive behavior, often seeking out new and risky experiences to feed their addiction. Rod Stewart. In an interview, Rod Stewart admitted to losing count of the women he slept with in his 20s. He claimed that as he grew older, he became bored with the whole thing, and after a while, he lost the feelings of true intimacy. This lack of intimacy is a recurring theme in Stewart's life, and it may explain his frequent marriages and subsequent divorces. He has been married 3 times and has 8 kids from 5 different women. Stewart's promiscuous lifestyle was particularly rampant during his early career as part of the Faces. He would often fly in models and have them arrive and leave in quick succession. However, this active sex life left him feeling lonely and unfulfilled. In an interview with The Sun in 2019, Stewart said, "Sex at one point was beginning to be boring. Late 80s, early 90s, always flying in models left, right, and center. One would arrive, the other would leave." But Stewart's sex life has not been without its controversies. In his autobiography, he revealed that he lost his virginity to an old and larger woman in a beer tent at the 1961 Beaulieu Jazz Festival when he was just 16 years old. This early experience may have set the tone for his later promiscuity. Stewart's friend and bandmate Ronnie Wood has also spoken about their wild days on the road. Wood revealed that they would often use anti-cold capsules to ingest cocaine through anal, and it is a dangerous and disturbing practice. Iggy Pop, the legendary frontman of the Stooges, is known for his wild stage antics, raw energy, and iconic music. But behind the scenes, Iggy's life was marked by a tumultuous relationship with sex, which often fueled his chaotic behavior on and off stage. In the late 1960s and 1970s, Iggy's addiction to heroin and cocaine was rampant, and his promiscuous sex life was just as out of control. He would often engage in reckless and dangerous sexual encounters, which were often fueled by his drug use. His friends and bandmates would often describe his sexual exploits as insatiable and uncontrollable. On stage, Iggy's sexual energy was palpable. He would often perform naked or nearly naked and would engage in provocative and explicit acts with audience members. His shows were often a blur of sweat, sex, and chaos, with Iggy at the center of it all. He would hump his amplifiers, simulate sex with audience members, and even expose himself to the crowd. One infamous incident at a club called Mothers in Romeo, Michigan, saw Iggy humping women in the audience like a dog before returning to the stage and exposing himself to the crowd. The local law enforcement was called, but instead of arresting him, they were reportedly mesmerized by his performance. Iggy's obsession with sex was not limited to his on-stage antics. Offstage, he would often engage in reckless and dangerous sexual encounters, which were often fueled by his drug use. He would have sex with multiple partners in a single night and would often engage in risky and unsafe sexual practices. Despite his chaotic and destructive behavior, Iggy's friends and bandmates would often describe him as charismatic and charming. He had a certain allure to him which drew people in and made them want to be around him. This charisma, combined with his raw energy and talent, made him a rock star in every sense of the word. However, Iggy's obsession with sex and drugs eventually took a toll on his health and well-being. He was forced to check himself into a mental institution to get clean, and it was during this time that he began to reflect on his behavior and the damage it had caused. In a shocking revelation, David Bowie admitted to smuggling drugs into the hospital for Iggy. Fortunately, the hospital refused to let Iggy have the drugs, and he was finally able to start his journey towards sobriety. Bob Marley. Marley's sexual appetite was insatiable, and he had numerous affairs with various women throughout his life. According to his website, in 1972 alone, 3 women carried his children, including his wife Rita, who gave birth to their son Stephen. Pat Williams and Janet Hunt also delivered sons, with the latter giving birth just 3 days after Pat. This remarkable coincidence has led some to speculate that Rita may have had an affair with a man named Hall, resulting in the birth of another daughter, Stephanie, in 1974. Despite this, Bob adopted Stephanie as one of his own. Marley's infidelity was not limited to these instances. He is rumored to have had affairs with at least 6 different women, each of whom he had a child with. His wife Rita, in her book No Woman, No Cry, My Life with Bob Marley, claims that he forced himself on her several times, which she describes as rape. This disturbing revelation sheds light on the darker aspects of Marley's personality and his treatment of women. Marley's behavior was, in part, influenced by his Rastafari beliefs, which emphasize the subordinate status of women and strongly encourage reproduction. In this context, Marley's actions may have been seen as justified, but they were undoubtedly hurtful and damaging to those around him. Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry's troubles with the law began in the early 1960s when he was arrested for transporting a 14-year-old girl across state lines for sex. This incident led to his first trip to prison, and it was only the beginning of his legal troubles. In 1979, he was arrested again for tax evasion, and in 1990, his estate in Wentzville, Missouri, was raided for drug possession. Although the search only turned up a small amount of marijuana and hashish, the authorities also discovered a massive stash of pornography, including videotapes, photographic slides, and books. The seizure of Berry's porn collection led to a scandalous report in Spy magazine in 1993, which revealed his penchant for sexual fetishes involving bodily excretions and his predilection for spying on women in bathrooms. The report described a homemade video in which Berry and a woman engaged in a sexual act involving urination, and it also detailed how Berry had installed hidden cameras in the women's restroom at the Southern Air restaurant in Wentzville, which he owned. The cameras captured hundreds of women and girls using the restroom, and the recordings were edited and compiled into toilet tapes. Berry's obsession with sex and voyeurism was not limited to his private life. In 1990, the High Society Nudie magazine published photos of him posing naked with different women, claiming to be the only magazine with the balls to show Chuck's berries. This public shaming was a major embarrassment for Berry, and it further tarnished his reputation. Berry's behavior was not only illegal and immoral, but it also caused harm to many people, including the women who were victimized by his voyeurism and the underage girl who was transported across state lines for sex. His actions were a clear violation of women's privacy and dignity, and they demonstrate a complete disregard for their well-being and consent. This brings us to the end of our video. Hope you like our video. We'd really appreciate your support. If you could lend us a hand by following us, clicking on the bell icon for notifications, and leaving your valuable comments, it would mean a lot to us. Sending you warm regards from our corner of the world. Take care and goodbye for now.